The bus ticket to Denver sat on the kitchen table, a one-way journey scheduled for tomorrow morning. Elena stared at it through tears, her small suitcase already packed and waiting by the door. After 3 months in the tiny town of Silver Creek, Wyoming, she had finally accepted the truth. She didn't belong here. She didn't belong anywhere. At 26, Elena had become an expert at leaving. Foster homes throughout her childhood had taught her not to get attached, not to hope for permanence, not to believe in the word home. When her last foster placement ended at 18, she had drifted from city to city, job to job, never staying long enough to put down roots because she had learned that roots only hurt when they were torn up. 3 months ago, she had arrived in Silver Creek with $40 and a broken-down car. The mechanic, old Mr. Henderson, had taken pity on her and offered her work as a receptionist at his garage while her car was being fixed. The repairs would take weeks, he said, maybe months. Parts for her ancient sedan were hard to find. Silver Creek was the kind of town that existed in movies but seemed impossible in real life. Population 2847, 1 Main Street, a diner that served as the social hub. Everyone knew everyone, and newcomers were noticed immediately. For someone like Elena, who had spent her life being invisible, the attention was overwhelming. The townspeople had been kind in their way. The diner owner, Betty, always gave her extra pie. Mrs. Chen at the bookstore let her borrow books without a library card. The pastor's wife invited her to church socials. But Elena could feel what lay beneath the kindness. Curiosity, questions about her past, probing looks that asked, "Who are you really? And why are you here?" She couldn't answer those questions because she didn't have good answers. She was nobody from nowhere, and that was the truth she had always carried like a stone in her chest. But there was one person in Silver Creek who looked at her differently. Sheriff Jamie Carson, 32 years old, had been the town's sheriff for 5 years. Unlike the others who peppered her with questions, Jamie simply accepted her presence. When he stopped by the garage for coffee, he'd ask about her day, share stories about the town, and never once asked about her past. Elena had tried not to notice the way her heart jumped when his patrol car pulled up. She tried not to feel warm when he smiled at her. She had learned long ago that hoping for connection only led to disappointment. Jamie was probably just being nice. It was his job to know everyone in town. He was handsome, respected, and could have his pick of the local women who had known him all their lives. Why would he be interested in a drifter with no past and no future? Last week, things had changed. The garage had hosted a small barbecue for Mr. Henderson's birthday. Elena had stayed in the background as usual, but Jamie had sought her out. "You always stand on the edges," he had observed, handing her a glass of lemonade. "Why?" "It's easier to leave from the edges," she had answered without thinking. Something shifted in his expression. "Are you planning to leave?" "I always leave eventually. That's what people like me do." "People like you?" His voice was gentle but curious. "People who don't have anywhere to belong." Jamie had looked at her for a long moment, and Elena had seen something in his eyes that terrified her, something that looked like he cared. "What if you belonged here?" he had asked quietly. Elena had laughed, but it came out bitter. "I've never belonged anywhere, Sheriff. I wouldn't know how." That conversation had haunted her for days. Then yesterday she had overheard Betty and Mrs. Chen talking in the diner, not realizing Elena was in the back booth. "Poor thing," Betty had said. "She's so lost. I feel sorry for her, but you can't save everyone. Some people are just meant to drift." "Jamie seems awfully interested in her," Mrs. Chen had added. "But he needs someone stable, someone with family, someone who understands small-town life. That girl will break his heart when she leaves." The words had confirmed everything Elena already believed about herself. She was temporary, unstable, someone who would only cause pain. The kindest thing she could do was leave before anyone got hurt, especially before she let herself hope for something that could never be real. So she had bought the bus ticket. Tomorrow morning she would slip away quietly, leave a thank you note for Mr. Henderson, and disappear as easily as she had arrived. It was better this way. It was always better to leave before you were left. She was lost in these thoughts when she heard a knock at the door of the small room she rented above the garage. Her heart knew who it was before she opened the door. Jamie stood there in his sheriff's uniform, hat in hand, his expression serious. "Mr. Henderson said you bought a bus ticket." Elena's throat tightened. I need to move on. It's time. Time for what? Your car's not fixed yet. I'll come back for it when I can afford to. Or just leave it. It doesn't matter. It matters to me. Jamie's voice was firm. Can I come in? Elena stepped back, letting him enter the small room. He looked around at the sparse furnishings, the packed suitcase, the bus ticket on the table. His jaw tightened. Elena, why are you really leaving? Because I don't belong here. Who told you that? Nobody had to tell me. I've never belonged anywhere. This town is full of people with families, histories, roots. I don't have any of that. I'm just passing through. Jamie set his hat down and took a step closer. What if I told you I don't want you to be just passing through? Elena's heart hammered. Sheriff? Jamie. My name is Jamie, and I'm not here as the sheriff right now. I'm here as a man who has spent the last 3 months falling for a woman who thinks she's invisible. Tears spilled down Elena's cheeks. You don't know me. You don't know where I came from or what kind of life I've had. I know you're kind, Jamie said softly, moving closer. I know you always help Mr. Henderson even when he doesn't ask. I know you leave books on Betty's counter when she's having a bad day. I know you memorized every kid's name in town within a week. I know you think you're nobody, but Elena, you're the somebody I've been waiting for. I heard them talking, Elena whispered. They said I'd break your heart. They said you need someone stable, someone with family, someone who belongs here. And I say I need someone who makes me smile every morning when I drive past the garage. I need someone who understands what it's like to feel lost because I felt that way for years after my parents died. I need someone brave enough to keep trying even when life has given her every reason to give up. He reached out and gently wiped a tear from her cheek. I need you. I don't know how to stay, Elena said, her voice breaking. I've never stayed anywhere long enough to call it home. Jamie took both of her hands in his, the gesture so tender it made her cry harder. Then let me teach you. Let me show you what it means to be wanted, to be chosen, to be home. What if I mess it up? What if I don't know how to do this? Then we'll figure it out together. He pulled her closer, his voice dropping to an intimate whisper that only she could hear. Elena, I'm asking you to stay. Not for a week or a month. Stay forever. Build a life here. Let me build it with you. Let this town become your town. Let me become your person. Stay forever. The words broke something open in Elena's chest. All the years of believing she was unwanted, all the times she had packed up and left, all the loneliness she had carried like armor. It cracked and fell away, leaving her vulnerable but also strangely free. I'm scared, she admitted. I know. But I'm here and I'm not going anywhere. And I'm asking you not to go anywhere either. Stay, Elena, please stay. She looked into his eyes and saw something she had never seen directed at her before. Absolute certainty. He wasn't offering her charity or temporary kindness. He was offering her a place in his life, in this town, in a future she had never dared to imagine. Okay, she whispered. I'll stay. Jamie's smile was radiant. He pulled her into his arms, holding her like she was precious, like she was home. Forever? He whispered against her hair. Forever, she repeated, and for the first time in her life the word didn't scare her. The next morning, Elena tore up the bus ticket. She called Mr. Henderson and told him she'd like to work at the garage permanently. She walked into the diner where Betty and Mrs. Chen were gossiping over coffee. And instead of hiding in the back booth, she sat at the counter and ordered breakfast like she belonged there. Because Jamie had taught her something profound in that small room above the garage. Belonging wasn't something you were born with or something others gave you. It was something you chose and something that someone who loved you could help you choose. 3 months later, when Jamie took her to the town's autumn festival, and everyone saw them walking hand in hand, nobody whispered about the drifter who didn't belong. They saw Jamie's girl, Elena, who worked at the garage and was becoming part of the community. They saw her laughing, connecting, staying, and a year after that, when Jamie knelt down on one knee in the same room where he had asked her to stay forever and asked her to marry him, Elena didn't hesitate. She said yes to the ring, yes to the man, yes to the life they would build together because she had finally learned what it meant to be wanted. And it turned out that home wasn't a place you were born into. It was a place you were brave enough to choose, with someone who was brave enough to choose you back. Sheriff Jamie Carson had whispered, "Stay forever," and Elena had discovered that forever was exactly